This week on Mom's Cookbook Collection, we're exploring lost and abandoned recipes. We're taking a step back to 1923 and using the Boston Cooking School Cookbook by Fannie Merritt Farmer. It's probably one of my grandmother's collections. From the look of this, I think it was my Grandma Lasselade, who was a Faucher. Valeria Faucher Lasselade. Let's see, we're going to be kit bashing two meatloaf recipes here. Mrs. Daniel's meatloaf and German meatloaf. Now, as with most of the recipes from this era, the cooking instructions can be downright enigmatic. I don't know whether it was the stoves of the era couldn't maintain steady temperature or not, but it doesn't give the degrees Fahrenheit, and a lot of these recipes don't even tell you how long. I had to look it up online. I'm going to be using 350 degrees for 1 hour, using 3 pounds of meat. This Mrs. Daniel's meatloaf calls for 4 pounds of meat. I'm not using one of the ingredients, and I'm adjusting the recipe as necessary. Now I'll be taking ingredients from Mrs. Daniel's meatloaf and from German meatloaf, and I'll be adding some chopped pickled peppers that I made this year from the garden in a sweet brine, parsley seed, and oregano garlic solution. The ingredients: 2 pounds of beef, 1 pound of veal, we're not using the veal, 1 pound of fresh pork, 1 cup of breadcrumbs, 1 cup of milk. I'm using 1/2 cup of evaporated milk, 1 tablespoon of salt, 1/8 teaspoon of pepper, 3 eggs slightly beaten. Now what I'm taking from the German loaf is 1 clove of garlic, 1 small onion finely chopped, and 2 teaspoons of curry powder. And what I'm taking from my own garden is a 1/4 cup of freshly chopped pickled peppers. Give it a little zest. Chop the meat finely, mix and add remaining ingredients in the order given. Shape into a loaf, put in a pan, and lay across the top 6 thin slices of fat salt pork, in other words, bacon. Roast in an oven 1.5 hours, basting every 10 minutes at first, then with 1/2 cup of hot water, and after that has gone, with fat in the pan. I ended up giving this recipe about 2 hours, and I did baste it, but I didn't use water. Instead I used some of the chicken stock left over from last week's recipe. Looks through and through, looks done. Let me check the main. Yeah, looks like we got some pink in there. So what I'm going to have to do, the ends are done, but this is way too much meat. What happened is these old recipes, I'm never 100% sure how they're done. So I'm going to have to put this back in the oven and do probably another half an hour. Yep, different ovens for a different era. And it was a lot of meat, and I left a pound of veal out of it, so not exactly sure how that's supposed to be done. But the ends did cook through. So let me just check this. First, let me check it without anything else. Very good. This is from the 1923 edition of the Boston Cooking School Cookbook by Fannie Merritt Farmer. Oh, Fannie Farmer. And this is a mix of Mrs. Daniel's meatloaf and German meatloaf, along with some pickled peppers from last year's garden. As I like to say, that was a winner.